the news, after days of delay, Egyptian authorities open border for Nigerian students fleeing Sudan. President-elect Bola Tinubu commemorates International Workers' Day, says tough decisions imminent. And police panel invites suspended Adamawa Rec over conduct during governorship poll. Hello and welcome to TV News Now on TV360 Nigeria. I am Simisola Adigun. Egypt has finally opened its border and allowed Nigerian students fleeing the war in neighboring Sudan pass through its country. Abike Dabere, chairperson of the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission NIDCOM, said the border was opened after the intervention of President Muhammadu Buhari. NIDCOM chairperson further disclosed that the borders had been opened with stringent conditions as the Egyptian authorities were insisting on visas, adding that the Nigerian mission in Egypt had been working tirelessly to rectify the issue. The students, alongside other nationals, had been stranded at the Egyptian border since Thursday evening. President-elect Bola Tinubu has promised to put in place a living wage for Nigerian workers, as he is a co-laborer and ally to workers in the fight for social and economic justice. The president-elect made this known in a solidarity message to mark International Workers' Day. The former governor of Lagos added that he would always fight for workers, adding that they will have more than minimum wage. Tinubu, however, demanded a better understanding and cooperation from all sides ahead of the tough and hard decisions that may be taken while at the helm of affairs of the country. President Muhammadu Buhari has affirmed that decent work is an essential condition for the reduction of poverty and achievement of an equitable, inclusive and sustainable development. The president said this during the May Day celebration at the Eagle Square in Abuja with the theme Workers' Rights and Socio-Economic Justice. The president was represented by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa. Our correspondent Emeka Amako files in this report from Abuja.
At the Eagle Square in Abuja, thousands of Nigerian workers gathered to celebrate this year's International Workers' Day, with representatives of various labor unions displaying their organization's flags and emblem. Despite the excitement, the day calls for sober reflection on the state of workers' welfare in Nigeria. The president of the Nigeria Labour Congress advocated an upward review of the retirement age for all public servants. He also urged the federal government to review the current minimum wage of 30,000 naira on to rising inflation rates.
In our celebration this year, we seek to re-establish the mutuality of causative relationship between nature and quality of the way workers are treated and the depth of socio-economic justice that exists within our societies, especially in Nigeria. This relationship is mutually reinforcing as has a wide, complex implication of our society. Deeper protection of rights and privileges of workers ensures greater socio-economic justice, which leads in building a nation that is more cohesive and is able to withstand the issues and powers of centrifuge that seeks its disintegration. It is therefore not charity or dash when workers' salaries are improved. It is not a giveaway when we insist on better deal for workers who are these that lay the golden egg.
Responding to the demands of the Nigeria Labour Congress, President Muhammadu Buhari, who was represented by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, enjoined the incoming administration to prioritize the need for decent work as an essential element for progress and development.
The Federal Executive Council has, in consonance with deepening our support for the workers' right, passed the national right. Nigeria, as a viable member state of the ILO and a cornerstone of workers' rights, had ratified the conventions of the ILO guarding the promotion of rights at work.
On his part, the Minister of Labour and Productivity, Chris Ngige, urged the NLC to seek dialogue in settling disputes rather than outright protest and confrontation of authorities.
I implore all of you to consolidate on the mileage already covered by the federal government in the last 8 years. Issue acrimony, factionalization, selfishness, and develop a spirit of cooperation rather than confrontation, and engage in social dialogue rather than aggression or unnecessary industrial action with your employers.
The 2023 May Day celebration has a semblance of uniqueness as it marks the last attendance at the nation's May Day celebration for the President Buhari-led administration.
Still on International Workers' Day, Nigerian workers have lamented that rising inflation has put a dent to the 30,000 naira minimum wage of workers in the country. Speaking at the 2023 International Workers' Day celebration in Lagos, First Deputy President of the National Union of Textile, Garment and Tailoring Workers of Nigeria, Michael Nkwama, urged the government to review the minimum wage to fit current economic reality. He also urged the new administration to improve other pressing issues such as pension, workers' welfare, as well as brain drain.
The NLC, Nigeria Labour Congress, just had their conference, February 13th, to elect a new leadership that will, by God's grace, address the yearning of the entire Nigerian workers when it comes to the infrastructures, all their demands, when it comes to demands from the government. Pension is there, better remuneration for the Nigerian workers. If you note, you will see that majority of our workers in Nigeria are leaving the country to outside country. What's the problem? We ask yourself, what's the problem? The problem is that Nigeria as a country misses some ways, many places. The economy is becoming more difficult than before. The hardship is becoming more harder, more intense than what it used to be. So Nigerians that have alternative of leaving the country are leaving. Those that can't leave are those. If you find out today in Nigeria, we have the lower class, middle class, the upper class. Those that are the middle class are the ones that are leaving Nigeria. They are seen, there's no possibility of them climbing to be to the upper class. The lower class cannot leave because they don't have afford the opportunity to leave. The first duty of every good government is the duty of care. If the Nigerian government can care and listen to the Nigerian workers, it's easy. We're not asking for too much. All we're asking for is good remuneration. Today in Nigeria, the minimum wage is 30,000. 30,000 is minimum wage. Can that take you home? 30,000 is minimum wage. Can that afford you buying just one bag of rice? And if you buy a bag of rice at 30,000, won't you buy ingredient to cook it? What about your clothing? What about children's school fees? What about your housing? So I am calling on the entire government of Nigeria to look at the minimum wage of Nigeria that we are paying as minimum wage. Increase that minimum wage. Make it a minimum wage, indeed a minimum wage. Because it's minimum wage now is not a minimum wage. It's not a wage. It's not a take-home wage.
For more deliberation on the plight of Nigerian workers, Adewale Oyerinde, the Director General at the Nigeria Employers Consultative Association, NECA, joins me now. Thank you very much for making out time to be with us. Now, organized labor across all platforms have scored the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari in terms of workers' welfare. Now, what do you make of this?
Well, thank you very much for having us. And once again, let's congratulate organized labor for this wonderful occasion. But first, I think it will be very important to contextualize this conversation about minimum wage. One, minimum wage, it's set. There is a mechanism for setting minimum wage. And all of us, when I say all of us, social partners, we are all part of that mechanism of setting minimum wage. Government, representative of workers, and representative of employers, plus other stakeholders. They all come together, working together with the guidance of the ILO Convention on Minimum Wage Setting And that was why we arrived, the issue of 30,000 was arrived at about 4 years ago. Now, also it's very important to understand that it is the minimum below which no employer should pay. It is not fundamental or static that it has to be 30,000, but that is the minimum that nobody should pay. And at the private sector, the private sector mechanism is such that wages are increased almost every year during the instrumentality of performance appraisal systems. And for collective bargaining agreements also, wages are increased and negotiations are done on a regular basis. So at the private sector, we don't have much problem. The structure is in place. We have our consistent engagement with the union, and this has been working for us. So the concern of labor will predominantly be what happens in the public sector, where the federal government have to do a lot to address the issues as it relates to workers' welfare.
The private sector also plays a significant role here, as we want to know. But either way, we've seen that cases of labor laws being flouted. Now, how do we ensure that Nigerian workers are well protected, both in the private and public sector?
Now, for every law that you always find one or two persons that will flout the law or break the law. And inherent in all laws are penalties and also structures to ensure compliance. And one of the structures we have, or one of the parameters we use in this environment, is the instrumentality of the Ministry of Labor. The Ministry of Labor have inspectors, labor inspectors that are supposed to go to organizations to inspect if they are actually doing what they are supposed to do. That, if that doesn't suffice, then we've also had conversation about labor education, continuous education of workers, so that if your employer is flouting the law and you deem it unnecessary or you don't deem it fit to go and report such employer to the relevant authorities that, look, laws are being flouted, then such employee or such individual, you become a co-conspirator with the person that is flouting the law. That I don't have access to the Ministry of Labor is not an excuse. The Ministry of Labor have offices in the 36 states of the Federation. So a way to curb the issue of law breaking is for all of us collectively to escalate all these issues to the Ministry of Labor, and the Ministry of Labor to play its part in the context of monitoring and issuing necessary penalties. Even for regulations like PENCOM.
Well, I'm sorry, that's how much we can take. I wish we could continue with it. Director General, Nigeria Employers Consultative Association, NECA, thank you very much for your insight. Moving on, the Nigeria Police Force has invited the suspended resident electoral commissioner in Adamawa, Hudu Yunusa Ari, for questioning. The investigation panel set up by Usman Baba, Inspector General of Police, invited Yunusa Ari over his conduct during the April 15 governorship election in Adamawa State. Yunusa Ari had stirred controversy by declaring Aisha Binani Dahiru of the All Progressives Congress APC as the winner when the collation of the results was yet to be completed. The Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) declared the announcement null and void and summoned the REC to its headquarters in Abuja. Majority Leader of the House of Representatives, Al-Hassan Dogowa, has declared his intention to run for the speakership position of the 10th National Assembly. In a letter of intent addressed to members-elect, the lawmaker representing Dogowa Tundun Wada Federal Constituency in Kano said he is vying for the position because of his passion for nation building. Dogowa's aspiration for speakership is coming despite the legislature's trial over alleged criminal conspiracy, culpable homicide and unlawful possession of a firearm, mischief and public disturbance. The police had said they received a report that he led thugs to set ablaze the secretariat of the New Nigeria People's Party (NNPP) in Kano State, with 2 persons feared dead. Although the legislator denied any wrongdoing, he was arraigned in March at a magistrate court in Kano and was subsequently remanded in prison. We'll take a breather here, but still to come on News Now. Russia launches second pre-dawn missile attack in 3 days. We'll bring you details of this story and more right after this break.
Opinions are free, facts are sacred, but truth is universal.
How, in practical terms, can we, for instance, de-escalate the tension?
President must see himself as the President of the Federal Republic.
We know where the enemy is. 3 places. The Lake Chad Basin, the border area between Nigeria and Cameroon, and then the Sambisa Forest.
On Digi 360, we give you a complete dose of everything. Opinion, facts, and undiluted truth.
I hardly believe what politicians say in this part of the world.
The new Nigeria is possible, a future is possible.
We delve into the issues, dissect it so that you can understand it, use it to take action.
I don't think there's any need for any governor to look for grant for ranching.
Digi 360, dissecting the issues.
Welcome back. Now, the highlights of our news bulletin. Egypt has finally opened its border and allowed Nigerian students fleeing the war in neighboring Sudan pass through its country. Abike Dabiri Erawa, the chairperson of the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission (NIDCOM), said the border was opened after the intervention of President Muhammadu Buhari. He also told you that President-elect Bola Tinubu has promised to put in place a living wage for Nigerian workers, as he is a co-laborer and ally to workers in the fight for social and economic justice. The President-elect made this known in a solidarity message to mark International Workers' Day. The former governor of Lagos added that he would always fight for workers, adding that they will have more than a minimum wage. In case you missed any of our news bulletins or for more updates, you can catch us on Limex World TV or log on to our website on www.tv360nigeria.com. You can also follow us on our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at TV360 Nigeria. On Facebook, we're at TV360 Online. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says it is planning to stop tracking the spread of COVID in communities across the U.S. Moving forward, the CDC is expected to rely more heavily on COVID-related hospitalizations, much like it does to track the spread of the flu. The agency is expected to announce the new tracking system within the coming weeks. And Chinese authorities are set to release a man who disappeared 3 years ago after publicizing videos of overcrowded hospitals and bodies during the COVID-19 outbreak. Fang Bin and other members of the public who were dubbed citizen journalists posted details of the pandemic in early 2020 on the internet and social media. Fang's case is part of Beijing's crackdown on criticism of China's early handling of the pandemic as the ruling Communist Party seeks to control the narrative of the country. We'll take another break here and return with more stories and business. Do stay with us.
Hello? Yeah, I found your wallet in front of a supermarket. Meet me at Apple Junction. Yes, I'll be waiting for you.
Now we find out. 2 of us.
Thank you very much, officer. You know, it's surprising that men like you still exist in the police force.
Yes, so...
Oh, yes.
This is just a token of my appreciation.
Oh, no, you don't need to do this. We're only doing our job.
Thank you very much. God bless you. Now I know police is really my friend.
Yes.
Friend. Hey. Okay, which came up with this one? I don't understand.
You know your problem. You are greedy. I'm a policeman who is doing his job. All forms of corruption in the force. Not in my country.
Corruption not in my country.
Welcome back. Mary Kanu joins us now with more stories in business. Over to you now, Mary.
Thank you, Simisola. Welcome to Business News. Dangote Cement has reported its 2023 first quarter results, showing a dip in volumes amid macroeconomic headwinds in the country. The company reported revenues fell to 280.3 billion naira in the first 3 months of 2023, compared to 321.9 billion naira in the same period, but in 2022. This is the first time in 5 years that the cement giant has posted a lower revenue on a quarter-on-quarter basis. The company also explained the decline in volume was due to a cash crunch and negative sentiment around the elections. And the Central Bank of Nigeria has denied rumors of a plan to phase out the newly redesigned banknotes from circulation. In a statement issued by the Acting Director of Corporate Communications, Issa Abdul-Mumin, the Apex Bank dismissed the speculations as baseless and aimed at creating unnecessary panic among the public. The director said that the new and old currency notes have been circulating side by side, just as the bank has been taking delivery of a good quantity of the redesigned banknotes from the Nigerian Security Printing and Minting Company Limited. He added that the public should disregard any reports suggesting a phase-out of the redesigned currency and continue to transact with both old and new notes as legal tender. And that's all on Business News. Simsala, back to you.
Thank you very much, Mary, for that update. And on the global scene, the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has lauded the efforts of the press across the globe, saying that they are the light of the world for bringing out the truth. The UN chief made this known ahead of the commemoration of the World Press Freedom Day on May the 3rd. Guterres explained that while freedom of the press is crucial to any society, attacks on journalists must be stopped.
For 3 decades, on World Press Freedom Day, the international community has celebrated the work of journalists and media workers. This day highlights a basic truth. All our freedom depends on press freedom. Freedom of the press is the foundation of democracy and justice. It gives all of us the facts we need to shape opinions and speak truth to power. And as this year's theme reminds us, press freedom represents the very lifeblood of human rights. But in every corner of the world, freedom of the press is under attack. Truth is threatened by disinformation and hate speech, seeking to blur the lines between fact and fiction, between science and conspiracy. The increased concentration of the media industry into the hands of a few, the financial collapse of scores of independent news organizations, and an increase of national laws and regulations that stifle journalists are further expanding censorship and threatening freedom of expression. Meanwhile, journalists and media workers are directly targeted on and offline as they carry out their vital work. They are routinely harassed, intimidated, detained, and imprisoned. At least 67 media workers were killed in 2022. An unbelievable 50% increase over the previous year. Nearly 3/4 of women journalists have experienced violence online, and 1 in 4 have been threatened physically. 10 years ago, the United Nations established a plan of action on the safety of journalists to protect media workers and then the impunity for crimes committed against them. On this and every World Press Freedom Day, the world must speak with one voice. Stop the threats and attacks.
Russia has launched a series of missiles at Ukrainian cities in the second pre-dawn attack in 3 days. The Kremlin claims to have dented Ukraine's imminent counter-offensive, destroying ammunition supplied by the West and hitting key communication links. 1 person died in the Kherson region and 34 people, including 5 children, were injured in Dnipropetrovsk. Meanwhile, a Ukrainian official on Monday said the army had ousted Russian forces from some positions in Bakhmut, an eastern city that has been under siege for months. Well, it's now time for Entertainment Report on News Now.
The acclaimed Nigerian vocalist Tiwa Savage has received an invitation to perform at the upcoming coronation of King Charles, the British monarch. The coronation event marks the official ascension of the monarch, King Charles, and his queen consort Camilla to the throne following the passing of his mother, Queen Elizabeth II. The coronation is scheduled to take place on Saturday, May 6, 2023 at Westminster Abbey in London. Tiwa Savage's invitation to perform at the coronation is a remarkable achievement, and she becomes the first Nigerian musician to receive this honor. Tiwa Savage will be joining a star-studded lineup of entertainers who are set to provide entertainment for guests during the coronation concert and big lunch on Sunday, May 7, 2023. Nigerian singer Oyinkansola Sarah Aderibigbe, better known as Aria Star, has been directed to take immediate bed rest due to health issues. The Mavi singer was scheduled to perform at the Industry Night Show in Easton but had to cancel due to health conditions. Aria Star expressed a regret at not being able to perform at the show and apologized to fans in a statement posted on her Instagram story. That's it on the entertainment segment of News Now.
And in sports, Manchester City is apparently preparing to open talks with star striker Erling Haaland over a new contract. The 22-year-old has broken records since touching down at the Etihad last summer and brought up 50 goals for the season in Sunday's 2-1 Premier League win over Fulham. According to reports, the Premier League champion intends to tie Haaland down for another 2 years until the summer of 2029, by which time he will be 29 years old. Well, that's our bulletin on News Now this evening. Many thanks for watching. I'm Simisola Adigun. Bye for now.